On behalf of ECDPM and CGD, welcome to our EFAT Talks, our conversation series on the European financial architecture for developments, where we explore the efforts to maximize the potential of the European development finance and get to grips on how to devise a more strategic, effective, collaborative, and impactful system. I'm San Bilal, the head of the Trade, Investment and Finance program at ECDPM, and I'm joined by my co-host, Micaela Gavas.
Thank you, San. I'm Micaela Gavas. I'm the co-director of CGD's Europe program and the Senior Policy Fellow.
Thank you. Normally, we have these talks just with one person. In this case, we have five people who join us. Perhaps can you quickly introduce yourself? Anne?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Anne de Soucy. I recently joined the Agence Française de Développement, AFD. You know, we like short terms in France. And I'm in charge of the partnerships at AFD. And I come from another actor who is involved in the European development paysage, which is Expertise France, who is the French implementing agency.
Thank you. Marina?
Nice to meet you all. I'm Marina Piccioni, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti. I'm coordinating blending and financial innovation in the international cooperation and development financing of Cassa Depositi. Nice to meet you all and to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. Laura?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, San and Micaela, for the opportunity. I am Laure Blanchin-Prunac. I'm the Director of Policy and Partnership at DFI, which is the Association of European Development Finance Institutions.
Thank you. Johannes?
Yes, thank you, Sam. My name is Johannes Kannicht. I'm heading the strategy division at KfW Development in Frankfurt, and I'm happy to join this talk this afternoon with you.
Thank you. And Fernando?
Last but not least, my name is Fernando Jimenez Ontiveros. I'm a Director for Financial and Multilateral Cooperation with the Spanish International Cooperation Agency, ICID. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you very much for coming. When we invited you, and we invited some of you on a bilateral basis to have individual talks, but you replied that you would prefer to come and talk all together. Can you tell us why you wanted to do that? Anne?
Yes, happy to answer this one, because I believe we belong to this Team Europe spirit, and we very much want to contribute to it. We are the four major national public development banks with an international mandate. Some of us are quite old. I'm happy to say that I'm not the oldest one, but we are all of us very much engaged in the European development policy. And I think we wanted to share this experience and our know-how and our networks on the ground all together and join our forces in what we call the enhanced partnership. If you have an idea of another name, most welcome. Not the most sexy one. Anyway, we decided to join our forces, and we are convinced that our impact, our visibility on the ground will be far more important, of course, if we can work together more efficiently, and if we can do more together, trust in each other, and bring along with us all our other partners, starting with ETFI, of course, with the multilaterals, EIB and ERBID. We will talk about them, but also all the other public banks in the southern countries which we work with.
Thanks a lot. That's very interesting. Don't ask somebody working at ECDPM for a good name for an organization. That's I cannot advise on that. Laure, I mean, you are yourself representing as the Association of European DFIs. You're representing how many DFIs? 15 or? Sorry.
Yes, we represent 15 DFIs. So when it comes to the choice of coming together, I mean, our job at EDFI is precisely to coordinate institutions which are clearly different in some ways, but with a shared mandate of development finance. In EDFI, we represent entities that are focusing on private sector development. And the reason we thought it would be much better to come together with the enhanced partnership composed of AFD, KfW, GDP, and ACID for this talk today was mostly a matter of efficiency, I would say, for the listeners, because although our institutions are clearly different and we have different priorities, sometimes we share the same views on a lot of the governance topics that were raised in the European financial architecture debate. So we are very happy to come as a group, and also because this is this Team Europe approach that is now basically the way forward.
Thank you, thanks, Law, and thank you to all of you for joining us today. Maybe I can take us now in the direction of the perennial discussions that we've been having on the European financial architecture for development. So we know that the European DFIs account for a substantial share of the EU's funds channeled through the financial instruments, as well as a large part of the human resources and expertise deployed. But the Wise Persons Group on the European Financial Architecture for Development and its recommendation for a single European Development Bank focused on the EIB and the EBRD as the two main players. And in doing so, somewhat neglected the role played by the European National Development Banks and the DFIs. Do you think it was a mistake to ignore the DFIs in the deliberations? Maybe over to you, Johannes.
Thank you. I can give the first shot here. I don't think we were overlooked. I mean, if you look at the final results, there's a clear recommendation in the end for the status quo plus to work with a different expertise, the human brain power, the financial firepower of all the different institutions we have in Europe. So I think in the end, the result of the whole endeavor comes to a conclusion which fits well the purpose. I mean, the general idea to have a more visible European development approach with a higher impact. I think it's clear that we have to put together what we have. It wouldn't make sense to have one single institution and neglect what member states, what all the different institutions are bringing to the ground. So I think it was good to have a look at the whole scenery, to analyze strength, weaknesses, what each other brings to the table. And I think the report also cites what you said, what is already there. I think 88% of commitments in sub-Saharan Africa come from bilateral development finance institutions. And I think coming back to this and looking at the different instruments we have in Europe, including the bilaterals, including the multilaterals, and say, this is our strength, this is our diversity of Europe. We have to put this into place to make European development aid more visible, more impactful. And this can bring the result and not a new parallel institution neglecting all the different historical linkages and strengths that we can bring to the table together.
Yes, but still, I mean, the Wise Person Group was putting the emphasis on, the merit for Europe and perhaps in parallel to the national development banks and DFIs to have a European development bank. Marina, do you think there is, a role or merit to have a European development bank? And if it's not even a single one, I mean, between EBRD and EIB, which is still a lot of the attention of what's happening at the EU level, how do you see this, the merit of saying we should have something more European, or should it's just a question of articulating the different actors, be it at whatever level, national or multilateral or European, and they have to work better together?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Sal. I think that there is a merit in having EBRD and EIB because they're acting as a centralized force for the European Commission, but there is also merit on having on board each of us, because as also Jimenez has pointed out, any of us has with different effort and capabilities and experience and a history, we have all something to add to the table, some experience, some presence on the field, which is mostly for our case it's difficult because we don't have a office in place, but some of us at the table has from a long time as experience on the field. They can bring the project they develop and action that maybe also EBRD and EIB don't have actually. So I think also from the point of view of the Agence Française, and I see that they really have presence on the field and have the possibility of dealing and bring experience. So I think that both of the solutions should be followed, both of them, and the status quo plus could bring together all the experience. So that's all.
Thank you, Marina. Just before we move to status quo plus, can I ask you, Fernando? I mean, so the European development finance system has been described as one in which there is a multitude of actors, where competition for visibility, competition for deals, a certain amount of undercutting commercial investors in ways that can distort markets, where all of these things are quite rife. Do you agree with this?
Well, I think it's always very tempting to look for a simple solution, but sometimes the shortcut is the longest road. In this case, I believe to look for the shortcut of a European Development Bank, of joining forces, EIB and EBRD, we could be tangled in a phenomenal administrative and very costful process. I think there is a certain silent revolution in terms of how we are approaching this from the different instances, and in a very pragmatic one. At first, when I read status quo plus, I said, well, that's a contradiction. No, it's oxymoron. It's like the Mexican Partido Revolucionario Institucional. If you're revolutionary, you cannot be institutional, right? But in this case, I think that the formula tries to signal two things. First, that we are not starting from scratch. And second, that yes, there are multiple ways of better coordinating ourselves, as Johannes said, of improving our visibility, our capacity of influence. But I think you cannot just take the pen out of one part of the page and put it in another one. You have to reach to that one, and probably there will be some speeds. Like there were also two speeds when in the construction of the European Union. We had a similar roundtable also with San, and frankly, I think it was very good news for me to see that the EIB and EBRD are clearly approaching themselves a lot. I think also the enhanced cooperation mechanism is trying to foster a joint co-financing platforms and common processes and procedures. And diversity here, I think, is a cliche, but it's a richness and more than an obstacle. And I think in this dilemma of cooperating or competing versus cooperating, I think we all agree that the real challenge that we have is to compete with European values and with and joining forces with other ways of interpreting international development that don't take into consideration gender, human rights, or environmental or safety standards. Hey, Europe is very complex, and that has also been like a challenge in terms of political coordination. But being kind of the new kids in the block, not, well, we are old because we are 30 years old, no, but 32 actually. But I think it's, I'm quite optimistic. I don't think, I think we are going into an increasing pace, into a much closer coordination under the Team Europe brand, not branch. Thank you.
Thanks. I mean, what is this? Yes, please, Laura.
I'd like to react to what Michaela said about competition, because my members are the ones that often get this criticism that they have a very competitive mindset, chasing deals. And in fact, these are the same members who created EDFI back in 1992. So it was a very bottom-up approach where the DFIs themselves realized they need to coordinate and they need to work together. And also, we don't limit ourselves to our members. We've been co-financing projects since 2004 with EIB, obviously also with the enhanced partnership institutions. So it's not a reality, in fact, that these institutions are competing blindly against each other. It's actually quite the contrary. And the EDFI project is totally the representation of that, because it's very difficult to find another example outside in the world of such a big coordination of institutions which are from different countries.
So this is very interesting indeed, because I mean, you have this experience of working together. Now that we see with the enhanced partnership, institutions trying to work together, what would be your advice in terms of, both the opportunities, but perhaps the pitfalls that they should be paying attention to in terms of how to foster this cooperation among themselves? Though I understand that development banks, national development banks, have been cooperating among each other also before. But from the EDFI perspective, Laura, I'll give you the floor, Fernando, but just I would like to hear from Laura, what are some of the lessons that you have gathered all these years by improving also the coordination among DFIs? I mean, how do you learn to coordinate, and what do you need to change to be able to coordinate better? Well, what has changed for DFIs over time? That's what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. So the first key lesson we take from looking at all these coordinations that we do at EDFI is that there's no coordination for the sake of coordination. There has to be something which is an added value. And as you know, our members are very small, lean institutions for most of them. They clearly don't have time to waste in endless meetings if there's not something very concrete to get out of it. And that's exactly the way we draw our work plan, for example, at EDFI. So this is where is the added value for our members, the best we can do to bring value that they can't get just at their national level. And basically, what it means concretely is that the coordination has been intensifying. When I mentioned 1992, it was a club of senior managers, CEOs, very much on the strategic side, looking at what they can, how they can develop their companies. And now we see that the institutions are coordinating on all levels. And I would say, for example, the first systematic thing when there's an issue coming up, mostly an issue that would be raised relevant for the whole of the EU member states, but also non-EU member states sometimes, we have the members turning to each other and comparing themselves. And so that's a bit of a benchmarking exercise, which is extremely valuable because you don't waste time reinventing the wheel on many aspects. So I think the key, and it is, I think, the same when EIB and EBRD now get together and look at what they can do to cooperate, is really to be more efficient and have added value out of this cooperation. We have also sometimes members telling us, no, on this, we don't necessarily see the added value, and then we leave it aside. Huh?
Fernando, you wanted to react as well? You're muted.
Okay. No, very briefly, I couldn't agree more with. I believe that we have a great opportunity to prove that we put our money where our heart is, and this is the Team Europe initiatives, because frankly, I was a little disappointed of our joint coordination when it came to the external investment plan. I think it would have been much easier for the Commission and probably for the partner countries had we as a group, I mean the 4 national financial institutions, come with a joint proposal saying, okay, guys, we are proposing you these 10 initiatives. Out of these 10 initiatives, we have split them and there will be the leadership of one of ours, but we will be joining forces in terms of co-financing, and it didn't work. I think that the time was an issue, and we were all trying to learn as we were learning by doing. But now with the Team Europe initiatives, I'm happy to report that we have, for instance, we have this Friday morning. Not only we are having a lot of meetings, we are kind of overwhelmed by meetings, by the way, but it's for a good cause. In terms of mutual reliance initiatives, joint procedures and processes, etc. But we are having already co-financing, co-programming meetings. Like, for instance, we will be the 4 agencies. We will be discussing with the Commission this Friday on Africa and what in Team Europe initiatives. So I think that will be the test of really the political will to really enhance the cooperation.
Great. And Anne, maybe I can come to you. Just could you tell us a little bit more about this enhanced partnership? I mean, what is it that really brings the 4 of you together? What is the purpose? And also, is it an exclusive club or is it open to others?
Thank you. No exclusivity. That's the one thing we are sure of. We have started between the 4 of us because we know each other already quite well, and we've been working together on the field, and we have a common history, and we know we share common values and have a common mission. So it was quite easy to engage the dialogue among the 4 of us. Now we want to go further. As was just said, we had several experiences already on the field, but we can do definitely much more together and have real big major co-financing programs. Go further even by delegating some of our major tasks to one of us, trusting each other and really delegating the whole activity on one project to one of the 4 of us, and even go further on and one day create common tools, a common fund, and be always more efficient and have greater impact and greater visibility on the ground. So that's for the 4 of us. We have started recently to structure this dialogue, and we are keeping on, and we will shortly sign our common agreement and co-financing agreement next year all together. But of course we're open to all the others, and we've made a map of all the other actors in Europe that could be interesting and interested to join, and there are plenty of them, and every actor in the financing of development is most welcome to join us. The ambition being to really create this European development finance system. So we are just the first step of it, and we open arms in order to really embark most of the other actors with us along in this silence in this system. And EIB herself is of course most welcome to join, and will have a special role in all this, being the bank of the banks, being our mother and the whole structure, if I may say. But as public banks, of course, we have a very special relation to EIB, and I believe it will be great to have EIB joining our enhanced partnership and working together and really co-financing 100% together on the field.
And can I ask you, is the group open to non-EU members?
We haven't put any criteria at this stage, and we are of course already in a very intense dialogue with other institutions, other development banks, as you might know. On the African continent, for instance, we have 95 public development banks, and some of them are really very active and very powerful, influence with a long history also on the field. So we have established a dialogue through our network called IDFC, and we have organized this first meeting of all the public development banks last year in October in the Finance and Commons Summit. And we definitely believe that we have to reinforce our cooperation with these banks and include them in this European Development Finance System, because they are very important players on the ground, and they can really be very helpful in order to answer the real needs of our partners and with the right tools. So be more effective when you have the right person alongside. So.
Johannes, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just shortly to add on the scope and the vision of this, I think it's now we're all in the status quo plus debate, and everybody's looking for how to increase cooperation, how to do more. And we said, look, what is the next good step we can achieve in a serious frame of time? So not to start in a very large project which will last too long, but see what is there in our hands. We do have the MRI between AFD and EIB, the Mutual Reliance Initiative, which works well. And we thought there's a gap we could fill now with the development banks, the national development banks, get one step further and do this in a pragmatic, efficient way forward to also deliver as soon as possible some concrete results within the big debate. It's that one specific stone that helps the system.
That's a very nice initiative. But what we hear as well is that in order to have greater efficiency and impact in the work, there is a need to better combine these and complement the sovereign lending with the non-sovereign type of activities. And in fact, the fact that you are here together with EDFI, of course, the first reaction when I heard about this enhanced partnership is, well, it is great. And I knew you already had a common office in Brussels and cooperating. But in a sense, why cannot you go straight away, since you have EDFI already organized an association? Can you not formalize also the relationship between EDFI and the enhanced partnership? And so instead of going step by step in a very slow way, I mean, does it have to be sequential, or can you not work on how you enhance your cooperation together and at the same time immediately work out with EDFI in a more structural way? And you had the European financing partners, or and the ICCF also are the platforms to where AFD, I think, was also part. So can you not build on these kind of elements to jump to stronger cooperation?
Maybe, San, no? I can answer at least partly on the side of EDFI. So as you know, we have our own co-financing platform, which is the EDFI management company established 5 years ago. And very simply, the answer to your question is the fact that what the EDFI management company mandate is to finance purely private businesses. And I suspect the co-financing platform of the enhanced partnership will be focusing on sub-sovereign and public exposures. So here, in terms of putting everything together at once, for now, it doesn't make sense, but certainly on some topics, it might make sense to have joint cooperation once the co-financing platform of the enhanced partnership is established. One example I'm thinking of right now is this very interesting Team Europe initiative that was launched last month at the summit in Paris, which is about financing young businesses in Africa. And here there's a big component of supporting the private sector, entrepreneurship. And this is done through DFI financing. That is our share of the work. And typically enhanced partnership institutions, they would come into supporting the incubation phase and the broader ecosystem, the environment, the environment of business in Africa. And so typically, we'd rather start the cooperation again on a team where we see a real added value to cooperate rather than by having a structure and then fill it with purpose. We'd rather start from the, basically where we want to have a result together.
Sure, but if I can turn to, and perhaps to AFD and KfW, I mean, Proparco is part of AFD, DEG is part of KfW, so it seems to be, natural. I think in CDP, it is combined, you do both. So it seems still surprising, standing from the outside, that you're saying, well, we'll do on a case by case. Well, in fact, we see already at national level, it is institutionalized, these corporations. So why not jump directly to an institutionalized cooperation at the European level?
Yeah, but Sam, exactly. I mean, there's a division of labor already, as you pointed out. It's not the same entity doing private sector and public sector. That's why DEG exists. That's why Proparco exists. And that's why in GDP, the GDP development finance is also split between public and private. So there's a division of labors, which is, at the national level, and basically, naturally, you find the same division of labor at the European level. But at least it's clear who does what.
Which would then prevent cooperation. I'm not sure I get it, because, I mean, we're not talking about joining, we're not talking having one institution being the national development banks and the DFIs coming in one institution. We're talking about platform of coordination. We were talking, I went on the AFD website, you were calling it the Team Europe Finance Platform. I think that was the initial name of the enhanced partnership. So if one is taking this logic of the Team Europe Finance Platform, and Anne was just saying we want to bring all the relevant financial institutions together, I'm saying just you have EDFI and you have the national development banks, which seems as a normal platform to talk and operate jointly together as on coordination under a Team Europe umbrella, without becoming one institution.
Maybe if I come in and jump a bit on.
No, Johannes first. Johannes, go ahead.
To jump on Laura's side. So again, I think it's not by accident that at KfW, for example, we have the development bank dealing with public partners and the DEG with the private sector. It's about expertise, having relations with the partner countries, knowing how they work both in the ministries and in the business part. So all this is therefore for purpose to have these two expertises. And of course, there's an exchange, a cooperation. I mean, we're here together, we're together in KfW within AFD between the different institutions. So I think this setup is done on purpose. And as Laura said, is now reflected somehow on the European level. Coming to the platform, I get your idea to say we should somehow be there together. And I think this is the case, as Laura said, where it makes sense. We have an approach to a guarantee in Africa where DEG, KfW, and others in AFD are trying to find a common framework for an EFSD plus guarantee, because we want to support both the business part and the public part. Then talking about the platform, we're getting into really concrete mechanisms of how to align procedures. And there it's really already a challenge to align the four of us as we are, because we work differently. We are a regulated national bank, our shareholders, the government. This is different from DEG with different purposes. And we look very much to EDFI and what they do and did in terms of better co-financing and cooperation to learn from them. And we see there's some parts we can take, others we have to do differently because we have a different setup. We're not allowed to do some things EDFI is doing by our legal arrangement. So I think there's a very this is a very sensible, a purposeful division of labor and cooperation on the policy level, but also a separation when it comes to some procedural questions or demands from partners.
Fernando, did you want to come in? You're muted.
Yeah, we're learning a lot from this debate in general this last years, as we have a somewhat different structure, because as I see it, our agency is actually very autonomous, but it's part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. First big difference. So we are part of the embassies, and we are part, but at the same time we have I would say a great deal of autonomy. But having said that, we are in the process of looking at our colleagues of KfW and AFD and CDP and see how can we better align to the new demands and probably the road to a Spanish Development Bank or is under consideration in the context of a new cooperation law. For the time being, interestingly enough, one of EDFIs or DFIs members, COFIDES, is by law our financial advisor. So we work hand in hand. In a way, we have tested and we have gone a long way of working together as a National Development Bank and an EDFI member through COFIDES. And second, we are our law enables us to do both. We don't have a separate proparco, but we can do operations with or without sovereign guarantee or sub-sovereign, and we can do second-tier microfinance or investment banks or special purpose vehicles for PPPs. So in a way, it's interesting because the specialization that we lack at the agency is provided by, in this case, by COFIDES. No, but as I said, we are in the process of considering the pros and cons. But going back to Johannes, I like very much his approach that nothing calls success more than success. So it's first, let's try to put together this in the short run and show results rather than having like perhaps too ambitious goals with too many different partners at the same time, because the complexity, I think, grows exponentially with the number of partners, financial partners. So I think to the extent that we are able to harmonize the co-financing platform for sovereign, it will be much easier to reach that agreement with EDFI and to extend this kind of close collaboration to non-sovereign, at least perhaps too optimistic view, but that's my view. Thank you.
Anne, you're next.
Thank you very much. No, I'm just wanted to join my colleagues by saying that the question is not of creating again another new institution. I don't know, Sun, where you want to push us to this.
No, I was saying it is not about creating a new institution.
No, but even among us, the important thing is that we are really complementary, and I think this is really what we have to build on. The question is, how can we best answer the needs of our partners, not how can we organize ourselves in one unique organization. So the thing is really to find every time the right tool for the specific need we have in front of us, and this can be non-sovereign when we have a beneficiary who is able to borrow on their own and reducing by this the indebtedness of their own state. But in other cases, it has to be sovereign, and in some cases we will work through guarantees, but in other cases we will have to recur to blending, because we have to be in a public policy dialogue with our counterparts. We have to bring them some technical assistance in order to reinforce them, and by doing this, we prepare the way for EDFI's organizations, and it's a very easy way if you can imagine that we discuss on a policy with our counterparts. Let's say we discuss on transport. We help them to build a public policy in the field of transport. Then we discuss on a project and we give them a loan or a grant blending in order to help them to build up a project on bus corridors. And then EDFI can step in and finance the buses. So everyone has a role to play. And I think the force of our networks is that we have all these different tools. I like to say that we are a couteau suisse. I don't know how you say that in English. A Swiss knife.
Swiss knife, yes.
A Swiss knife. Well, the idea
a Swiss
being that
Army knife.
right, finding always the right tool to answer the specific need of our counterparts.
Great. And then Marina, you're next.
Yeah, just to add one further example, which is CDP on the table, and just to enlarge the possibility of different support and organization that we have. CDP is not fully owned by the states. CDP is both the development financing team, because the teams are different, as Johannes said, and the international cooperation. Then there is a transversal horizontal activity, which is the one I'm responsible for, and also the expertise. The problem is not the organization. So any of us is different. Any of us has different support from its own country. Sometimes for us, for example, it's difficult to enter in transaction because we don't have the access to that the others have to the national fund. We manage national fund. We try to put together the single piece of puzzle. So any of us can bring different solution, and then the best one could fit to the different needs. It's important in general to have a clear vision also on the standards, on the support that we can receive from the European Commission, for example, also on the instruments that we can access. With the external investment plan, we have seen plenty of different instrument. Any of us has a different discussion with the Commission, so it's sometimes it's getting confusing. We don't see. We understood that the negotiation was different, but at the end we didn't realize exactly which is the instrument that any of us has in place. We just talk to each other. So I think that having a unique front to discuss that could be from a DFI with the law, or from the point of view of the enhanced partnership altogether, it's a good position because we can bring together the different instances and have a unique interaction, let's say. So that's probably the solution for this kind of problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Maybe just picking up on your point about the external investment plan and the European Commission. I'd like to get a sense from all of you. I mean, you've all talked about alignment and harmonization and so on, but I'd like to get a sense from you what your expectations are from the European Commission. I mean, do you believe that the European Commission should be, setting the rules of the game, ensuring those rules are followed, that international standards endorsed by all of you and other DFIs to avoid crowding out private investment and market-based pricing methodologies, are strictly applied by all stakeholders? Do you think it's the Commission's role to be doing this? Johannes, why didn't I come to you?
Thank you, Michaela. Well, it's not up to us to say what the Commission's role should be, but sure, I think, yes, we have to distinguish these two levels in the first place. The policy level, where the approaches are defined, the larger strategies, the standards, and then more the project level and the implementation. And I think that's a very healthy also division and way forward. And yes, I think we talk now more about the co-financing, the project level, where we can join forces in specific sectors and countries. And I think, yes, the role to play of the Commission is a bit more on the policy level to continue what is done in joint programming exercises, to hook up with member states and see where there are really common directions, how to align even more. When we analyzed at KfW what our government has as priorities and the Commission has, we see a huge overlap. So there seems a certain logic that we are Europeans and we have a certain same vision of development policies. So yes, I think this is the role of the Commission. The Team Europe initiatives are one piece that tries to push this harder. There's on the regulation, on the standard side, the EU taxonomy, which is now exercised and further developed, which of course, this is an important piece, which takes some work. Everybody has to see how to align what is possible, what is realistic. But I think it also gives us a certain umbrella and also ensures this European brand. I mean, what we should stand for and do stand for is the quality, the seriousness of our projects, that we do care about social environmental standards, etc. And I think putting this forward, having the standards and talking about it is an important thing we can do. And the Commission is rightly in a lead in this debate.
But Fernando earlier on was talking about a silent revolution. So can you spell out a bit better what this revolution is really about? Because I mean, we know that you have been trying to, you know, improve over the years in the way you operate to be more effective and so on. So what is so different today, or what is the revolution that we're really experiencing now? And where do you see it should lead us? I don't know if
maybe
Fernando,
it was just
explain what you had in mind.
Yeah, maybe it was a beautiful expression, but too optimistic. What I can.
You're muted. Fernando, you're muted.
The silent revolution.
It's a silence that's
exactly.
won over the revolution.
No, I thought I got it wrong. I thought the host was always supposed to give us the floor, because but anyway, yeah, it's the silent revolution, but I want to speak. So basically, I've been working on this for 3 years and a half. I mean, I've been working for many more years, but mostly at the Multilateral bank, development bank. What I have seen in the 3 years and a half that I have been working here is, first of all, clearly we have numerous approaches. For instance, we signed with AFD an MOU to exchange experiences and open up opportunities for bilateral co-financing, and even exchange of secondments and experts, so that, because we want to learn from the models of everyone, but an AFD is particularly interesting for us. So I think there was we already have examples. We just signed in Senegal, for instance, a project, 170 million euros with the World Bank and AFD, and I see that's put in 50 million. We had a wonderful operation that was led by AFD in Jordan, but unfortunately the Red Sea operations, but it was too good to be true, and it couldn't see the light for political reasons. I have felt that we were very welcome in this enhanced cooperation mechanism, that there is a frank exchange of views and opportunities, technical help, advice, and we have a very interesting partnership with CDP on one of the EIP initiatives, External Investment Plan, Inclusify, to favor the transnational family and migrants remittances. We would like to have something as big with KfW. We will see what we can figure out, but no, I see really for us. Particularly, I have to say, I saw an increase of the momentum in these very last months when it comes to the next steps in terms of Team Europe, and I think that has, in a way, that gave us even more incentives to accomplish in a very short run, was to sign a co-financing agreement, this co-financing platform. So yes, and and even more often, we are thinking about this even European cooperation brand, or that could be the Team Europe brand. No, but this notion that we should really share, because there's always a tension. Let's be very frank, in between credit and visibility at the national level and versus sharing with. But I think at this point we are increasingly aware that it is absurd that we cannot influence in terms of European values, being the most important donor in the world, the European Union plus its member states. So I think we saw it in another meeting that you convened with us, that I was very pleased to see. We hadn't prepared that in advance, but there was like a commonality of messages in terms of acknowledging that we are not good at everything, and perhaps KfW is much better on renewables, and not everybody has to do everything. And I think what and somebody said, what we're generating now, I think, and it has a lot to do with at the personal level, is trust, is a level of trust that I didn't find 3 years ago. And I'm finishing now, but I'm going to tell you, with the European investment plan, we had to learn what the others were doing through the Commission. And now I'm sure with the Team Europe initiatives will not be that way. Thank you.
No, and that's a theme that is coming back, this trust that is building. Let me go back to just a comment that Anne was making before about also the non-European financial institutions. And in fact, Anne is standing in front of the IFD, but also IDFC, the International Development Finance Club. And you were mentioning, and the first summit of finance in common of all national development banks, the global summits. Marina, you're going to organize the second summit with Italy. I understand, focusing on also on agriculture, but. How do you combine this approach of this finance in common and this approach of partnership with the others, with the EFAD discussion? I followed both, and sometimes I have the feeling these are a bit parallel worlds. So, and I'm sure they are not, or they should not. So how do you see the combination of what you're trying to do as the international scene, and how this could help land a Team Europe that is open to the rest of the world, and especially to other national development banks around the world?
For me or for
Marina?
Hannah?
Yeah. No, for Marina, because you will be hosting the next summit. So I thought you would be on the front line. Then Anne can.
Yeah, we will be on the front line, and we are still in the phase of defining several detail on the meeting. It could be,
not to mention that Italy is the presidency of the G20, so I'm sure you're also very busy on that front.
Yes.
So I mean,
how
do you reconcile these international aspect with these intra-European kind of discussion?
Well, from the point of view of the organization, we are trying to develop a program that can bring all the experience on the floor and the different instances. Following several threads, the food, the agriculture will be the main focus, and then we will try to bring on the table also international, more well international than a European probably. So that yes. But I cannot tell you exactly, because we are really at a stage of developing the program and what we will follow, of course.
The question was less on the summit itself, but on the synergy between the endeavor of the finance in common and this partnership of national development banks internationally, with this discussion on EFAD that sometimes sounds very navel-gazing by the Europeans. How do we work ourselves better? And then, of course, if you want to be better internationally, you have to be strong internally and have all your tools, and you have to shape that properly. But I was asking for this connection between these two dimensions.
Well, you know, from in the domestic market, CDP is really strong, and I mean we have a long history of developing instrument for Italian support. So so for us, it's a strange step now, because we started the international the cooperation activity and development finance activity in concrete way just in the last few years. So we are like developing our instrument, developing our connection, and the Fernando's noting the EIP together, the IP Inclusify together, and the other programs that we are trying to develop also with other partners under the IP, and the one that we want to develop for the next programming, because we look at partnership. We look at partnership with multilateral developing bank with regional developing bank. We are developing synergy with the Asian Development Bank, with the Inter-American Development Bank. So from our point of view, it's crucial to have a connection with the outside Europe, because for us it's important to have a connection with counterparties that have a presence on the field and know the needs that there are on the field, on the single region and countries and initiatives, because we are not in the position. We are connected to the Italian system of cooperation, with the Italian Agency for Cooperation, with our foreign affairs, but it's not enough. You know, it's having we are the financial institution. We can develop instrument, we can take risk, we have a strong expertise on financial instrument and structured finance. So that's something which we are good, because we develop a lot of programs in Italy for SMEs or for climate, and so we are keen to work, but we have to connect. We have to connect, to have a presence, to have a partner that can help us in going to the field. So that's, I don't know if it answers your question.
No, absolutely. And perhaps Anne, because you have been also, I mean, first you initiated this Finance in Common, but AfD also is very active in not only in partnering on projects with national development banks, but also in helping building capacity of some of these institutions. How do you see this connection between the EFAT and the Finance in Common?
Yes, thank you, Sam. I think there is a very important link between EFAT and all these banks we've brought together. We're talking about 450 public national banks in the world, and all together they represent 10% of total global investments every year. So it's an enormous amount of investing and financing on their side. And what I believe is that we could play a kind of role of intermediaries. We, the four public European banks, we can do the link between the European architecture system, between the Commission and between EIB and EBRD with these banks, help them to enter into dialogue, support them, reinforce those banks, and progressively open the EU financial facilities to these institutions. This is what was done a few years ago with the Green Climate Fund, and it really works. It really works. So if we can rely on these institutions, bring them the necessary support so that they can obtain their accreditation to the EU system, I think everyone will be really winning in this construction.
So thank you. Thanks a lot, Anne. And maybe, you know, as we're running out of time, I have just one last question, which I'd like to put to all of you. So my question is, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I'd like to know how you see the European system of development finance institutions in about 5 years' time. If you could give me one word or at most a sentence to describe how you see the system evolving in 5 years' time. And we'll start with you, Anne.
That's unfair. Well, I would come back to my idea of trust. I believe this is one of the most important words. And then I believe we will manage organizing a real Team Europe platform, professional one, and under which helmet brand we will have our public development bank networks, our DFI network, the practitioners network, which is reassembling all the implementing agency, which we should not forget because they're really important. So we have all this platform all together, Commission and Council giving the political steering.
Super, huge umbrella. Johannes.
Yeah, thank you. I think we mentioned a lot of elements, so maybe I pick up on two which we didn't focus so far. In addition to what Anne said with the platform, I think one is to smoothen procedures and to have a more easy possibility of cooperation between the Commission and the different institutions, to have less stumbling stones and be more efficient on this. I think the branding is important. It's just the branding, but still have a common visibility as European actors. And then the third element, I think maybe the most important, to look at the project level, on the country level, and maybe have a more systematic review of cooperation potential for each individual project. We have this in our project appraisal reports, for example. This is something that could be built in the European system to really see where we can fit needs by cooperating and where it makes sense.
Great, thank you. Laure, over to you.
Thank you. Well, I would stress also better visibility, especially the ideal scenario should be, and I think this is what we are all working towards, being us, but also EIB, EBRD, and the Commission and the member states. We should be working towards better visibility of what the EU wants with partner countries, and what is the proposal of an EU partnership and what it can bring to these countries. And to me, that would be the key. And I think it will only be possible if we all trust each other a little bit more, like we do in this group. And this is a broad set of institutions, countries, obviously. So it will take a bit of time, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Super, thank you. Marina.
I will follow the umbrella suggestions, because I see this huge platform. I see also the Fernando suggestion half an hour ago, when he said 10 initiatives put together and following macro initiative all together in under one umbrella platform, where each of us can bring a contribution that can bring value, and that's what I would like. And there I hope that in 5 years also CDP will step up and grow more. There will be not the new kids on the block, but there will be something more developed that we deliver, we deploy more transaction with the others. So that's my my hope in 5 years' time.
Fantastic, thank you, Marina. And final word to you, Fernando.
Well, the good thing of being the last is that all the good important things have already been very nicely expressed by my colleagues. I would emphasize two ideas. The first one that links with visibility is to have I see a powerful European cooperation brand. That even for those initiatives that are not necessarily co-financed, even if I see it goes by itself to a country, that it goes already with the European flag and the European processes and procedures and image. I think it's very important to have this powerful brand. And then, but that's more me. I see this platform as a powerful knowledge warehouse. I mean, because precisely because of the different nature of the organizations, oftentimes we are judged by the number of millions of euros that we place each year. I mean, everybody, sometimes we tend to believe when we approve a project that it's done and it's only the beginning of a good friendship. So more emphasis on really knowledge and how to spread that knowledge, and how do we measure success? And success is not only measured by, because no matter how much money we put there, it will be still only a fraction of what is needed. I think it's more spreading values and ways of doing things and standards, and knowledge has a lot to do with that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, first for coming together, joining together, for answering so openly to all our questions. And what we can wish you is all the best for the future, and that all your dreams come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you.